don't think there's anything more exciting and something that fills your heart with joy more than watching your firstborn baby being born. And I know Melissa and I felt that. When Noah was born, my heart was full. I was like, wow, this is amazing being a dad. On the flip side, I would say that there's probably nothing more heartbreaking than to see your child run away.
I grew up in a godly home. My dad being a pastor, I just felt like growing up, I just felt like the black sheep of the family. It seemed like everyone in my family just was a lot closer to God than I could ever be. I just felt like I could never reach the level of expectation that was set.
Fast forwarding to when Noah really began to go off the rails, and I could see him being influenced by the wrong crowd, and I started catching him doing stupid stuff at first, and I thought, this is not good, and we tried to do all that we could to keep him from those influences.
I started to skateboard when I was 11, and it was only about a year that I was just going out and having fun skating, skating on properties I wasn't supposed to. First time I smoked a cigarette was right in my backyard with one of my skater friends. I coughed up a lung. Shortly after, he got me involved in smoking cigarettes every day. It was just a habit. It easily became a habit because I've always had an addictive personality. It wasn't long after that when I was getting involved in smoking every single day, especially before school. First thing I want to do as soon as I get home from school is just go get out of the house and go smoke some cigarettes and smoke a little pot. And that happened for about a year straight until that same kid introduced to me to alcohol.
I remember the first time I caught Noah smoking, and I thought it was the end of the world. I was pissed. Are we allowed to say that? I was. And we grounded him, and I thought, it's going to end here. But it didn't. And pretty soon I discovered that he was smoking pot, and I remember he would come through the door, and I felt like I was the detective. I would give him a hug, and every time I give him a hug, I'd smell him, and he would just start lying to me, and I could tell that he was trying to hide something.
The way it made me feel, I wanted to feel more of that. I wanted to keep feeling that high, that lift off the ground. I wanted to keep feeling like a different person. I wanted to keep feeling like not myself. My addiction started to get really bad. It went from marijuana to alcohol to opiates to benzos to spice. I started experimenting with a lot of LSD. I remember there was an 8-month period where all I would do was just trip every other day. because I had to give myself a break to come back from all of the acid that was going through my head. I'd stay up all night long, all night, just staring at the walls, trapped in my mind, just trying to escape reality, just trying to get as far away as I could from where I was at.
At this point, he was really getting almost confrontational, and I felt like I was starting to lose it too, because he's blowing every chance he has to start walking the right road. And I remember there was one night that I think I hit my own rock bottom. This whole process was exposed not only the junk that was in Noah's life, but I almost felt like this whole process for me exposed all of these things in me as well. I felt like I started to have a love-hate relationship with. I loved this boy, but then I was so angry at him at times, and I had this simmering deep down. And I remember going into his room one night, and I can't even remember what. I probably found something in his room. All of a sudden, I find myself in this wrestling match with him, and we're crashing around the room and grabbing each other. And I said, "You can't stay here anymore, because you're not trying. You don't really want to change." And he's like, "Fine, I'm leaving anyway." And I was wondering if that was the right choice, but I knew that something had to happen. And that picture in my mind of him loading up his stuff, it wasn't much, in his car, and he just stuffed it all in there. And I remember standing there with my other son, Ethan, and we were standing there, and I said goodbye to him, and he gave us a quick hug, and he just drove off. We just felt like, okay, God, you're going to have to get a hold of him. He's going to have to come to his senses. And unless you do something, I really don't know, is he even going to make it? I thought we're going to lose him. My firstborn son, my son, I thought he was going to die.
That night I was about to sleep in my car, and I kept calling people that I thought were my friend. I kept calling and calling, just using the last of what drugs I had. And I go to this one friend's house and start doing whatever I had. I remember this big dude with a 9mm comes running around, and he's saying, "Where did the drugs go? Where did the drugs go?" He pulls me and another guy in the room, and he locks the door, and he pulls the 9mm out, and he loads a few bullets in it, and he cocks the gun and turns around and points it at my friend's head, and he asks him, "Where did the drugs go?" And he's crying at this time, and he's telling him, "I don't know where they are. I don't know where they are." And he held the gun long enough to his head that he finally just blamed it on me. And he turns around and puts the barrel to my forehead. And he says, "Noah, I will blow your brains out right now. You tell me where they're at." And I just told him to kill me. I remember my heart stopped. Me being high just completely stopped. I became sober at that moment. And I just kept screaming, "Kill me. I don't care if I die." I realized, I finally came to the realization that I need help. I seriously need help.
We felt like, wow, it must be pretty bad out there. And I think it was. I didn't know what was happening to him, but for him to be willing to go, we found this great Christian drug and alcohol treatment center called Place of Hope. And he went in, and we were like, thank God. And he went himself. I remember he was like, "Dad, I know how to get there. I'm going. I'll check myself in." Yeah, answered prayer number one. And we started visiting him while he was going through the program. We could tell that it was starting to sink in. And but there was one night, we had visitation twice a week, but in the middle of the week I came on a Wednesday night to visit him, and he came out to greet me, and I knew something was different. His countenance was different. He gave me a hug. He's like, "Dad, I got to talk to you." And he began to tell me the story. He began to tell me that he had gone to this service, and that this Christian cop had not only prayed for him, but really like delivered the mail.
And as soon as he started praying, it was like my whole body was just shaking. I couldn't stop just shaking. My arms and my legs and my whole body was basically twitching. And I was trying so hard for my body to stay still, but it just wouldn't. I immediately walked outside and just looked at the sky and everything else. I looked at the sky and everything seemed brand new. Everything seemed completely different. The urge to get high was just completely taken away from me. I didn't feel like I needed a substance to make me feel who I am. I know that God took that away from me. And that's strictly through my faith. I think that my faith, believing that God is real and actually accepting Him as my Savior, made me realize that I didn't need drugs to become comfortable with life. I was born to be so much more than just comfortable. And that's why I love this verse, and I know that God actually has a real plan for me, and that I'm not hopeless.
I wanted to be able to capture this somehow musically, and I remember hearing about these miners that were trapped, and I thought, man, that would be so scary to be trapped miles underground and everything caving in around you. And I thought, that's a perfect picture of how I felt, and I think how Noah felt too.
I find myself grasping for every shred of peace, like a coal miner. I go down deeper underground.
Also thought how amazing it is that the huge effort, the drastic measures that rescuers go to reach people, miners who are stuck. And I thought, this is a great picture of what Jesus has done for us. He took on flesh. He came to where we are. He plunged himself into our darkness, into our sin, into our pain, and He pulled us up out of it. And in that process, He made us new. And This song, Reconstruction, is about God completely changing you from the inside out. And that's exactly what he did for Noah. In a lot of ways, that's what he did for me.